Welcome to this video, dear learners. Our topic for today is language of chemistry. Okay, so we looked at language of chemistry in our previous video, and we talked about three things: elements, mixtures, and compounds. Okay, so now in this video, we just want to highlight certain things that are of importance. Okay, certain things that are of importance. Okay, so now before we begin this video, we have a number of things. So under languages of chemistry, let me just give you some of the things that you have to know. Okay, you need to know what elements are. Okay, elements, not only knowing them but also giving examples. Okay, elements. Okay, then apart from this, you also need to know compounds. Okay, and also give examples of compounds. Okay, then you also need to know mixtures. Okay, so for these three, you can just watch the previous video. I explained on these. So you need to know all these and give what examples. Then you also need to know what are atoms. Okay, what are atoms? Okay, what are atoms? Okay, then you also need to know what a molecule is, or molecules. Okay, molecules. Apart from this, you have to know what are ions. Okay, what are ions? Okay, then apart from this, again, you also need to know how to write symbols. Okay, how to write symbols. Okay, so symbols for what? Elements, compounds. Okay, elements and compounds, so atoms and molecules. So in general, you need to know how to write symbols. Okay, and another thing, you need to know what we call valences for all the elements. Okay, valences for all the elements. Okay, but the most important ones are the 20 first elements on the periodic table. You need to know their symbol, okay, and their valences. Okay, these are some of the things you have to know. So apart from the valences, you also need to know the chemical formulas for compounds. Chemical formulas for compounds. Okay, you need to know chemical formulas for compounds. Apart from this, lastly, you need to know now how to write chemical reactions. Very important, chemical reactions. Okay, you need to know how to write chemical equations, and also you need to know how to balance these equations. So when you know all these things I've listed here, okay, I'll be glad that you understand the language of chemistry. Okay, and if you understand the language of chemistry, chemistry will be very easy for you. Okay, not very easy, but it won't be that much of a challenge. Okay, so if you want to learn about elements, compounds, and mixtures, just subscribe to the channel and go to our previous video. It's titled elements, compounds, and mixtures. Okay, so for today we are going to look at atoms, molecules. Okay, atoms and molecules. Okay, that's what we'll be looking at in this video. Okay, so let's look at atoms. Okay, so an atom, okay, an atom. Okay, so an atom by definition, okay, an atom by definition, we can say this is the smallest, okay, the smallest particle of an element, the smallest particle of an element that can take part in a chemical reaction. So that is the definition for an atom. The smallest particle of an element that can take part in a chemical reaction. Okay. So another thing to note on atoms that all atoms are electrically neutral. All atoms are electrically neutral. What do you mean by this? They do not have a charge, okay? Do not have a charge, okay? Atoms do not have a charge, okay? So that is the definition for an atom. Why? That is the definition for an atom. So now, in order for us to understand what atoms really are, they are smallest particle of what? Of an element, okay? Smallest particle of an element, okay? So it's not just an element, okay? But it's also, you can say an element or a compound, okay? But let's just stick to an element. So it's the smallest particle of an element, okay? So now everything that we see around us, okay? All the three states of matter that we discussed, okay? We looked at the three states of matter, which are gas, liquid, and solids. These are the basics of chemistry, okay? So all these substances, the three states of matter, they are made up of atoms, okay? They are simply made up of what? Atoms, okay? So an atom is the smallest particle of an element, okay? And what are elements, okay? An element, we defined it as a pure substance that cannot be split into two or more other substances, okay? Into two or more other substances, okay? So now, all elements, okay? We have elements. So elements are made up of atoms, okay? Atoms make up elements. Atoms make up what? Elements, eh? So let's give an example of an element. So when you want to, if I ask you, give 3 examples of elements, okay? Just go on the periodic table and mention anything that's on the periodic table. For example, we can talk about hydrogen. Hydrogen is there on the periodic table. So hydrogen is an element, okay? So now this hydrogen element that's there on the periodic table, it is made up of atoms. Made up of atoms. Okay? And the atoms in the hydrogen are known as hydrogen atoms. Okay? So hydrogen atoms, okay? Hydrogen what? Hydrogen atoms, okay? Hydrogen atoms. Okay, so oxygen, if it's oxygen, it's going to be made up of oxygen what? Oxygen atoms, okay? It's going to be made up of oxygen atoms, okay? So that is the definition for an atom, okay? So we leave it here. Let's look at something else, okay? So let's look at what we call a molecule, okay? What we call a molecule, okay? Now, a molecule is different from an atom, and I'll show you why. I'll show you why, okay? So a molecule, first by definition, okay? First by definition, we are going to say a molecule, okay? A molecule is the smallest, okay? The definition starts like you're defining an atom. The smallest particle of an element or compound. Smallest particle of an element or compound, okay, which exists independently. Which exists independently. That is the definition for a molecule, okay? So if you compare it with the definition for an atom we said smallest particle of an element that can take part in a chemical reaction. But the molecule, smallest particle of an element or compound which exists independently, okay? So you need to understand what is an element, what is a compound, okay? You need to understand all these things, okay? So now, a molecule, okay? So I'm going to say something here. So gases and liquids, this is very important, gases and liquids are normally molecules. They occur as molecules, okay? Occur as molecules. So gases and liquids are normally molecules, okay? They are normally molecules. But for an atom, atoms can exist in all the three, okay? Gas, liquid, and solid, okay? All these three, okay? But gases and liquids are normally molecules, not solids, right? Okay, so you'll see most of the times when I talk of a gas, okay, it's going to be a molecule, okay? It's going to be a molecule, okay? So now we've defined what a molecule is. So let's look at something now. Molecules, there are three types, okay? There are three types, okay? There are three types of what? Of molecules, okay? Three types of molecules. Okay, and this one I want you to pay attention, okay? The three types of molecules, okay? So you have what we call monoatomic, and we have diatomic. So I'll explain these two words, okay? I'll explain these two words, okay? So let's start with monoatomic. So this word here, mono, simply means one. Atomic simply means atom. So when I say monoatomic, I mean these are molecules that consist of the same element, okay? They consist of, we can say, single atoms, right? One atom, okay? One atom, okay? One atom. Examples here. So these consist, you can say, those elements in which a single atom forms the molecule, okay? So we're going to say a single atom forms a molecule. A single atom will form a molecule. That is for monoatomic, okay? Examples, you have examples of elements, okay? Examples of elements that, so examples, I'm going to say elements that form molecules, elements that form molecules of a single atom. Okay, so monoatomic molecules, okay? We call them monoatomic molecules, okay? And I'll give you examples here. Helium, okay? Neon, argon. So if you notice, all these examples I've given, they are found in group 8 of the periodic table, or what we call group O, okay? So all these we call them noble gases. So the noble gases, they are monoatomic molecules, okay? They form monoatomic molecules, okay? Monoatomic molecules, okay? So this is what we're explaining So monatomic molecules, what we simply need to know is that a single atom forms a molecule. Okay. So if you were to write these, you're just going to write He. Okay. He as a gas. Okay. You're simply going to write Ne as a gas, or argon. You're simply going to write Ag. Sorry. Okay. Okay. So argon, you're simply going to write Ar as a gas. Okay. Ar as a gas. So if you notice, they have written this. Helium, I only wrote it as He with a gas. Neon like this as a gas. Argon like this as a gas. Okay, these are the symbols for helium. So all these are monoatomic molecules. Okay, monoatomic molecules. Okay, all these are monoatomic molecules. Let's look at now. Let's look at diatomic molecules. Okay, diatomic molecules. Now, diatomic molecules, okay, this is the second type of molecule. Okay, these molecules consist of atoms of the same element combined. Okay, so they consist of atoms of the same element combined. Okay, what do we mean? So when we combine two atoms of the same element, for example, a hydrogen atom plus another hydrogen atom, we combine them. This will give us two atoms of hydrogen, okay, and this will represent a molecule. Okay, so we call this a diatomic molecule. We call this a what? A diatomic what? Molecule. Okay, it's called the diatomic molecule. Okay, diatomic molecule. So for all diatomic molecules, we can also have oxygen plus oxygen. This will give us O2. Okay, so this is also a diatomic molecule. Now for diatomic molecules, you notice that they have a 2 below here. Okay, they have a 2 below here. But for monoatomic, okay, for monoatomic molecules, okay, the ones that we looked at, you didn't see a 2 here. That's why you know that these are monoatomic. Okay? So for diatomic, you notice they all have a 2 there and there. Okay. So even when we say we take nitrogen, you get this. So these 2 here, that's where the name di comes from. So di means 2. Then atomic simply means atom. So diatomic molecules are made up of 2 atoms. Okay, 2 atoms. Okay, no wonder why you notice all these diatomic molecules, they have a 2. Okay, they have a 2. They have a 2 down. Okay, they all have a 2 down. Okay, they have a 2 down. Now the other type of molecules. Okay, we've looked at 2 so far. Now the other types of molecules, these ones, these are simply so the third type. Okay, the third type of molecules. So now the third type of molecules consist of molecules made up of different atoms. Molecules made up of different what? Atoms. Okay. So for example, e.g. water. Water is a molecule, but this molecule consists of different type of atoms. For example, in water, you have hydrogen atoms. you also have oxygen atoms. Okay, wonder why you say this type of molecules, they are made up of different atoms. Okay, different atoms. Okay, so for hydrogen atom it's H, okay, plus the oxygen atom is O. But in order to form water, you need to add another H, and this will give you like this, eh? So this H and the H, H2, and then the O there. So we call this water in liquid state as a molecule, okay? Water molecule, okay? Water molecule. So I hope you've been able to understand something. So we have three types of molecules that we've looked at, okay? Three types of molecules that we've looked at. And we've also looked at the examples of these molecules, okay? Looked at the examples of the molecules, okay?